John, what an amazing book. What an amazing book. Oh, my God, dude.
Oh, my God.
First of all, we got to talk about the size of it, because this to me is what I call a partnership, meaning I can put it in my back pocket and keep it with me at all times and really take the time to read it and to re-experience the moments.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I miss that era of, like, the pocketbook, you know what I mean, where, like, you could just pull it out. And the book also, it looks kind of like a CD,
yeah,
you know
it
what
does.
I mean?
Yeah, it does.
Like, which is like an old object probably half the listeners haven't heard of, but it's just a cool looking book, and yeah, I love to just hold it in my hand and leaf through it.
You place us back in a time of history that so many people, we can't forget about it. We just can't. But you give us a ticket back to that past and to understand how things came together through creative minds and connections were made as people decided to come back out.
Yeah, big time. 1990 was such a weird time because, like, for those of us who were there, we're coming up on that period where AIDS was the number one killer of Americans 25 to 44. Like, Magic Johnson was coming out as HIV positive. The dad on the Brady Bunch, Rock Hudson. Like, it was like, oh my God, who's going to be HIV positive next? And we didn't have information about it. We were like, okay, well, like, what's going on? Like, when's this thing ever going to end? So to have all the major bands like U2, Thompson Twins, Sinead O'Connor, David Byrne, Debbie Harry, like, step up and record this album and talk about AIDS, it was like, okay, like, finally someone's like talking about this thing that all of us had in our minds.
I'm so glad that you said that, because you're right. Nobody was talking about it. And those of us that wanted to learn more about it, people would go, why do you want to know it? Why do you want to know? Why do you want to know? And it almost became an epidemic in the way of saying that, hey, look, don't even bring it up. Well, you have to. It's happening.
Yeah, big time. And in fact, in the book, Red Hot and Blue, I talk about kind of all the backstories for the artists and stuff. And Jody Watley, her producers, said to her, don't be on this album because people are either going to think, A, you're a lesbian, or B, you have AIDS. And she was just like, I don't care. Like, this is way too important. I want to record this. Like, I have tons of friends who are getting sick from HIV and dying. Like, that's ridiculous. I should even worry about people thinking that. Like, that's just awesome.
I love the way that you include Cole Porter in this, because this really, for the new generation Alpha or even Z or X, this gives them an opportunity to kind of see who Cole Porter is in words.
Yeah, totally. Like Cole Porter is one of those artists where, like, a lot of young people, or even, like, I remember when I was in my 20s or whatever, you think, oh, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you hear his songs and you're like, oh my God, like, I know all these songs, because they're, like, in every movie, every commercial. They're like the new Lady Gaga, Tony Bennett album where they record all Cole Porter songs. Like, Cole Porter is the American songbook. So yeah, the book's not just about, like, the major artists of the 90s recording these songs, but, like, I include a lot of the letters from Cole Porter, a lot of information about his life, because he had this sort of amazing struggle with being a closeted gay person, with suffering from chronic pain. Like, his story is also just a really compelling one.
Who decided who was going to be featured on the album? Was it a big collected offering here, or was it something that said, okay, I'm going to send a letter to this artist, this artist, this artist, and see if they can play along with us?
Yeah, there's a super interesting backstory to Red Hot and Blue. The producer, the guy whose idea originally was this guy, John Carlin. He was friends with Keith Haring, friends with David Warner Aerobics, part of the New York art scene, saw lots of people getting sick, wanted to do something about it. And he got in touch with David Byrne, and David Byrne of the Talking Heads, his sister-in-law was HIV positive. So for David Byrne, it was a super personal issue. It was in the family. It was someone very close to him who actually died of HIV a couple years after the album came out. So it was David Byrne who was able to reach out to lots of other musical artists and say, like, hey, like, this is something super important. I'm getting super involved in this. I want you to get involved in it too.
See, and listeners need to understand, this is long before We Are the World. These are the beginning steps of something that was taking place around the world, and these artists were stepping out saying, we got to create conversation.
Yeah, big time. And if you think about, like, We Are the World, like, was an important, like, movement at the time, but, like, that's just, like, one song a bunch of people came together to record in the studio. Like, this was a major effort where, it was 20 different artists. They all recorded music videos by like famous directors like Wim Wenders, Jonathan Demme. There was a television special. There was a major public awareness campaign. Like, this was so much bigger than anything people had done, anything people were going to do in the near future. Like, this was really kind of the landmark event where the music industry came together to do something about a major health or social issue.
The importance of this book is so important right now, and the reason why is because you know how the world is right now, especially this country. People are going back in, and they don't want to talk about how open they are. These are sad times for a lot of people who just want to love. They just want to feel love. In fact, you write in there about how the body needs the love.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you think about, like now there's so much stuff that people won't talk about because they don't want to get in a fight with someone. They don't want to offend somebody, or the minute they bring it up, they get so mad about it. Like, talk about a red hot button issue in the early 90s, talking about sex, talking about people sharing needles, talking about commercial sex work, talking about gay sex. Like, these were things that nobody talked about, nobody wanted to talk about, nobody wanted to bring it up. The Red Hot and Blue album was like, no, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it super frankly, because guess what? That's going to save lives to talk about it, really honestly.
How did you get ABC involved in the safe sex campaign? Because, I mean, I remember that vividly, and then I was reminded right here in this book. It's like, oh, my God, I lived this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's totally amazing. It's incredible. They made a television special, aired on ABC in the U.S., aired in 30 other countries on World AIDS Day, December 1st, 1990. Richard Gere was the host of the U.S. one. It was super groundbreaking. It was the first time anyone had used the word condom on TV, aside from news broadcasts. But there it was, just like front and center in prime time. People talking about safe sex, people talking about not sharing needles, major artists performing, talking about AIDS. It was like, holy moly, like, you can say this on TV, and the Red Hot and Blue people were like, you have to say this on TV.
Mm-hmm. I love your notes in the book. I think that what that does is it breaks down the fourth wall in the way of saying, hey, look, I'm right here with you as you're reading this book. Let me share with you the notes that so that you can understand what you just read.
Yeah, you started the call by talking about the size of the book. It's a short book. Like, you can sit down, you can read it, you can have an experience. It doesn't have to be some major commitment. But yeah, I mapped out throughout the book, sort of, if you want more information about this, you can go and check it out here. If you want the full story, like, go and read this. If you want to hear the tapes of the press briefing, like, you can go and listen to them here. Red Hot and Blue is as much like a snapshot of a time as is a roadmap to how to go out and learn more for yourself. Yeah.
Where can people go to find out more about you?
Good question. They can get Red Hot and Blue at any bookshop, anywhere they buy books. But they can find out more about me. I have a website. It's www.john-garrison.com. And they can read more interviews, learn more about this book, other books. It'd be great if people could check it out.
Well, I love where your heart is. You got to come back to this show anytime in the future, John. The door is always going to be open for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Okay, you too, Arrow.